Hello Wildlings, I hope you're all doing well. Today I wanted to talk about how you can call in your fairy companions for your workings and to just talk a little bit about what fairy actually is because we speak about it so much here on the channel. So I hope you enjoy this video and let's get started. So the first thing that I wanted to start with is to kind of try my hardest to explain what fairy actually is. It's a hard thing to try and put into words because it is something very much that is more experienced and felt for people who do this kind of work. But what fairy is essentially the Celtic Otherworld. So in the Celtic practice, there is a belief of the experience that we can travel to the realm of the nature spirits. So we see this place as a place called Annwn. Some people might call it the Gyasa in certain traditions. It depends how you approach it. But essentially what it is this plane of existence here, but our ability to shift our perceptions to another layer of it so that we can actually converse and commune with the spirits of nature, the spirits of place, and the spirits of the land which we share our landscape with. So in Hedge Witchcraft, what we are essentially trying to do is we are trying to cross the hedge, and the hedge is that boundary between this world and this other world that we go to commune with the spirits, to build relationships with them, to gain information and wisdom regarding things like herbal lore, self-development, how to look after the land better, things like that. And in order to do that safely, the best way to do that is to have good friends, right? Friends who already know the landscape, who already know where to go, how to get there, who to speak to and who not to speak to. So a fairy companion, or a fairy co-walker as we call them as well, is essentially an assisting spirit that has come in to help you with your work, to make sure that you go down the right paths, you don't get lost, you don't go astray, and that you don't speak to any unfriendly spirits that might not want to engage with you. So they're basically a friend that looks out for you and makes sure that you do your practice well and can guide you to make sure that you get to where you're wanting to go. A great way to look at it is if you go and visit a foreign city that you don't know anything about, it's always a good idea to either have a sat nav or a friend who already lives there or who visits there regularly so they can show you and make sure that you don't go down that wrong alleyway, or they know the best bus route, they know the best places to go to. That's sort of the reason why you would have an assisting spirit, and I would not conduct any of my work if I did not have these close relationships with these spirits that I trust deeply and that I have nurtured over time and that they have nurtured me over time. And you essentially build this connection that gives this trust that you have in your work and in the spirits that assist you. So how do you actually call in these companions so that you can start this kind of work? Well, the first place that you can start is how you actually engage with the land on a day-to-day basis. So are you someone that treads lightly on the earth? Are you conscious of your impact on the environment? Are you conscious about the things that you purchase and where you spend your money? Are you conscious of the products that you bring into your home? Are they polluting? Are they damaging? How much of a wider impact does their creation actually have? What foods are you buying as well? Now, obviously, everybody has a certain amount of money that they are able to spend. So it is not this idea that you need to spend all of your money or that you can't work with the fairy if you are unable to buy organic food, for example. That's not the point at all. The point is that if you are someone who in your heart knows that you try and do your best where you can and with the resources available to you, if you know in your heart that you try to walk lightly with the earth and you are a friend to the plants and the animals and you are conscious as you can be in your decisions or with the information that is available to you at that current time, then you are already on your way to having a fairy companion, because they will be very attracted and very drawn to this energy. Because as we can see, a lot of mankind is not really that consciously aware of their impacts on the environment, or if they are, they don't necessarily care. So if you are someone that is already radiating that type of personality, then you are already a natural attraction to nature spirits, and they will already feel very at peace and very calm and wanting to reach out in friendship to you. Speaking of a nature spirit, we have little Dickens here, who wanted to make herself known as well. So that's the first thing that you can do in terms of calling in a fairy companion, a nature guardian. So when we talk about fairy companions and we talk about these spirits that are assisting us to do this work, we're very much talking about nature spirits, spirits of place, spirits that reside within the land, within the stones, within the hills. These are what we sort of classify, if you will, as a fairy companion. So they are something that has come through from that realm of existence and that is wanting to assist you in your workings. So they're non-human spirits. So it's a bit different to mediumship, because obviously in mediumship you're trying to communicate with individuals that have passed over. So it is a different kind of work. And guides as well, we hear about spirit guides and those sort of connections. Again, these are often human spirits, but when we're talking about fairy companions, we are speaking specifically about nature spirits, or the she, so the fae, the good neighbors, entities like that. They're what we call fairy companions or co-walkers. So the next step would then to be to start physically reaching out to these spirits. So you can do this in any way that you feel comfortable with. You could be going for a walk out somewhere in nature and just thinking in your mind and reaching out in your heart space that you want to connect with something. You could go to a specific space in nature that you feel particularly drawn to, or that feels special to you, where you feel like the energy is really alive there, and you can speak out loud and request a connection to sort of be drawn into you. I guarantee if you're already somebody that walks closely with the earth, then you already have companions that are around you all the time and that are wanting to make themselves known. But if you actually go to a spirit of place as well, a certain area within nature that feels very sacred, and you commune with that spirit of place, that will be an excellent way to start attracting those kinds of spirits towards you. Obviously, we all have free will, and what I have found with the Fae is that they are not going to force their way into your life. You very much have to request them. You have to ask them, reach out a hand, reach out an invitation, a hand of friendship, and allow them then to come to you in their own time. So don't expect immediate results. You might get immediate results, but also a lot of the Fae are very wary of humans. I feel like that I was very much on an ecological journey for quite a while before I actually started more directly interacting with the Fae. So I had already spent a long time, I guess, proving myself to them that I was someone that was very conscious about my impact on the environment and doing all that I could to help it. So that is something that I would suggest, actually, is that if you're wanting to display that you are a friend to them, if you can get involved in any sort of nature regeneration project or volunteering that's near you, anything like that, that will speak volumes, because you're actually dedicating something of your time to actually assisting and helping them in their struggles and their needs. That leads us perfectly onto offerings. So as I said, you could offer up your time. You could go to a special place in nature and you can offer up things of music, of dance, of singing. You could write a poem and read it out loud. Anything that is from the heart and anything that is non-polluting, that is biodegradable. So if we're going for physical items, offerings of food are traditionally left. So you could leave things like fruits or nuts, chocolate. You could leave things out like wine, mead, brandy, sherry, anything like that. Anything that is a little bit indulgent. And by indulgent, I don't mean things like junk food, what we see now. I mean naturally indulgent foods, so rich foods, things that are sugary, but not of the artificial kind. And you can leave out a plate in nature. You could leave it out in your garden. If you have a garden that you're actually tending to, you can create a special space in that garden and place your offerings there, or you can leave them out at the special place that you visit out in nature as well. If you don't have access to those green spaces, don't feel like you don't have any Fae around you, because I guarantee you that there will be some around, and whether that's in the smallest flower on the pavement or the actual spirit of the place, who is the guardian or gatekeeper of that area. At some point that area would have been natural and it wouldn't have had a building on it. It would have been a natural space in the landscape, and its guardian entity will still be attached to that space. And this is actually where we can often get things like poltergeist activity. So that can be misconstrued sometimes. Sometimes it's just a very frustrated nature spirit that has been invaded, I guess you could say. So that can sometimes get confusing for people as well. Sorry, my cat just jumped up then. But if you leave out offerings, you can leave them in your home as well. So you can create a specific space in your home. So even if you're living in a high-rise flat in the middle of London and you don't have that much access to green spaces or a woodland or anything like that, you can just leave a small offering somewhere like a windowsill or somewhere that it won't be disturbed too much, and just leave it out. And that enough is an intention that you have put out there into the world and into that space that you are reaching out and wanting to build a connection with them. Adding on to that, you can also build a beautiful altar for the Fae as well. So you can leave offerings, or you could make something really beautiful. You could collect natural stones, or you could put up a piece of artwork that really makes you feel connected to the energy of the Fae. Anything beautiful. You can just create a space in your home, even if it's a small little shelf that you have or a little corner of a room somewhere. It doesn't have to be extravagant. You don't need all these fancy things, but the most important thing that I would say is to just be so intentional about every single piece that you bring into that space. Make sure that it is non-polluting, non-toxic. It does not have an impact on the environment. So no things like plastic, nothing artificial, no junk food, anything like that. If you can just keep it as natural as possible and show that you have put that intention into it, that you are trying to make it natural and non-impactful on the landscape, even if it is the smallest little altar, even if you have a tiny little picture and a stone in front of it, or a little candle that you just light, beeswax if you can, or soy, paraffin candles not only are really, really bad for your health, but they're also obviously not necessarily natural, like a beeswax candle or a soy candle, for example. But even if it's something small like that, it really doesn't have to be this super extravagant thing. The simplest things, like I said, even offering up a song or a poem, anything that you've created with your own hands or with your heart space, even writing them a letter, things like that, they're the things that are really going to show that you have spoken from the heart and that you are reaching out from the heart and that you really do want to build a relationship and a connection to them in friendship. So once you have already done those first few steps, the next thing that I would suggest would be to start going into meditation. So even if you feel like you haven't necessarily had anything come through yet in the terms of recognizing changes in energy and things like that, I would recommend going into meditation. Again, just stating your intention, and doesn't have to be anything extravagant. Just reach out. You could speak out loud, you could write it down, or you could just think it in your mind. Go into meditation with that intention that you would like to meet any Fae that are willing to work with you. Venture to your sacred grove or your sacred inner temple, that space within yourself when you go into meditation that feels safe and that feels like a point of connection between you and this world, and then just see what appears. Even if for the first few times you don't necessarily see anything, you might notice a colour, you might hear a sound of a bird, you might see an animal. All of these things are going to be signs about the energies that are starting to be attracted to you. You might see an animal straight away, and if so, an animal is part of Faery. So animal medicine, animal totem medicine, that all fits within this realm of Faery companions, right? You might see a spirit there that looks quite human, and just judge how you feel. You can go there and not say anything or not do anything, just simply be and exist in that space. Or if you see a spirit there and you want to start engaging, or they engage with you, then ask them, be like, where are you from? What kind of a spirit are you? Even if it presents as a human, it might be a plant spirit. Obviously, they're all shapeshifters, so they can present however they wish, however they think would be best received by you and what you would be most comfortable with. So just start asking questions and start to build up this recognition of who are the spirits that are wanting to work with you. Obviously, as humans, we all have different personalities and we don't get along with everyone. So obviously not every single nature spirit is going to be super happy to engage with every single human. But when you go into meditation and you're trying to connect with your guides of Faery, your co-walkers, you're going into that sacred space, right? That space that is yours energetically, that you have created and that you own, and nothing can get in there without your permission. So if you go into that space, any of the spirits that you see in that space will be friendly spirits that are wanting to actually engage and work with you. And so you can start to build up that recognition and that trust in that relationship, so that when then you're actually out engaging with the physical realm and conducting witchcraft on that plane, that is when you're going to be able to start recognizing energies and the feeling of energies that are starting to come into the room as those energies that you met in that sacred space. After that, it is very much just tending and nurturing that connection as you would with any connection with a fellow human that you have in your life as well. So I do hope that you enjoyed this video, and I do hope that I articulated it as well as I possibly could, because these are concepts and things that are difficult to put into words. As I said, when you actually do this work, when you experience it for yourself and you see how your life completely changes and you start to really recognize these energies and feel them and experience them and these spirits, it enriches your life in such a way that I could never imagine my life being any different now. I could never go back to how it was before. I have such a rich life because of these connections and the magic that just pulls into my world every single day. So I would highly recommend it. And it's a really important time in humanity where we need to establish these connections again that our ancestors had with the way that they interacted with the landscape. It's really important that we start to bring this back so that we engage with the land in a completely different way, in a more harmonious and a more peaceful way, if we have any hope of a healthier environment in the future. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me on my social media platforms. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button as well. Leave a comment if you already have companions and co-walkers that you recognize and have relationships with. And I really hope that I'll see you in my next video so that we can explore these worlds further together. I am sending you so much love and light, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.